On number 4, okay? So, if we look at these numbers, we do not have the same denominators. We do not have the same numerators. But we also, if we try to find a common denominator here, it would be a very big number. So we're not doing that either. Okay? So y'all are thinking, then what are we doing? We are going to look at these numbers and compare them in that way, okay? So, if we look at, we can already tell that 1/3 is going to be our smallest, right? We only have one piece of it, so that is going to be our smallest one, right? So we have 1/3 as our smallest, okay? Now, if we look, which two are close to being one whole? Boyleon?
3/4 and 4/5.
4/5, right. These two, right? Now, let's look at this. Remember, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece, right? But, let's look over here, okay? Because it's a smaller piece, so this is 3/4, right? It's a bigger piece than the 4/5. A fourth is more than a fifth, right? Like it's a bigger piece. But that also means that this is a smaller space. Like, do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A smaller space than here. There's a smaller piece missing from this one, okay? Because the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So since this one, they're both only missing one piece, right? But we're missing a smaller piece. So this one is actually bigger. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
The 4/5 is bigger than the 3/4. Does that make sense? Okay, so our biggest one is 4/5, right? Then what? We said 3/4, right? Now, we have 4/8 and 8/12, okay? Now, one thing I want us to do is, what can you make 4/8 into? A half, right? This equals 1/2. 4 is half of 8, right? Now, if I make this, I want to simplify this, okay? What is half of 12? 6, right? Is 8 more or less than 6? More, right? So, we have more than half here. We only have half here, right? Does that make sense? We have a half, and we have just over a half. So we have 4/8 and 8/12. So we didn't really take a math part and make it a lesson in that sense, right? But we looked. We know that this was going to be our smallest piece because we only had one piece of it, right? Then this is half. This is just over half. This is 3/4. And this is almost a whole, right? Do you guys see that? Mm-hmm. So even though we couldn't find common denominators, we still were able to order these numbers properly, right? So now we need to put them on a number line. Okay, so we have 0, 1, I just put a 0 as I said 1, and our halfway mark. So, we already said that one of these equaled a half. Which one equaled a half, Grace?
We said it was 4/8.
4/8, right? So I'm going to put 4/8 on that halfway line that they gave me on number 4. Then, we said that 1/3 was less than half, right? So I'm just going to put 1/3 about here. We said 8/12 was just a couple over a half, right? And then we said 3/4, and then closer to a whole was 4/5, right? Doing the number line isn't that tricky as long as you watch, because you want to make sure this halfway mark is labeled for 8s, right? And everything is on the correct side. 1/3 was less than a half, and all these others were more than a half, okay? Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so we are not going to do number 5 or number 6 because those are more advanced and we might come back to it later. But I want us to really understand this concept before we try to add that on top of it, okay? Because it's looking at improper fractions, having to make them proper, and then graphing them and charting them. I want us to focus on what we learned today, okay? So, I want you guys to look at page 89 really fast because one of our stations is going to be math boxes. So, for number 1, you are identifying equivalent fractions, okay? It says use your fraction circles as needed. I really think that you guys don't need them because if you multiply, you're trying to find 2/4, right? 2/4 is what?
1/2.
A half. So you're finding 2 fractions that equal a half, right? Then you're doing it for 2/3. If I'm trying to do 2/3 and say I multiply the 3 by 2, I get what?
6.
And I multiply the bottom by 2, so I have to multiply the top by 2. 2 times 2 is 4, right? So 2/3 equals 4/6. Do you guys see that? You shouldn't need your fraction circles, okay? Number 2, which shapes have perpendicular sides? Fill in the circle next to the best answer. So, perpendicular is where they cross and make a right angle. Okay? Makes sense? Number 3, it says Mr. Kiesler needs ceramic tiles for an art project. She has one 24-pack, 2 12-packs, and one 18-pack of tiles. She had to return 16 tiles because they were cracked. How many tiles does she have? Okay? So, how many does she have after she returned the 16? Okay? Now, these you are writing the number. So, they gave you expanded form. They want you to write the standard number. Okay? Then you are filling in the missing numbers on the number lines. Now I want you to get out your home links, page 81. Okay, so home links for today is doing the same thing we did in our journal, where they give us a set of fractions and we need to put them in order and then put them on the line, the number line, okay? Then you are doing the practice. It is addition and subtraction, all right? Remember what we talked about on how the tricks to use, what's the halfway mark, what's close to a whole, and pieces like that. Remember, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece, right?
Got it.